All right, team, it's time to talk San Diego real estate. What the heck is going on out there? Chad Basinger's here. What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you as well.
All right, so you've been in this market for some time, yeah?
I have.
What is going on out there right now? Like, what do people need to know about what's happening in the San Diego real estate market?
That is a really good question. What I can tell you is that the market here in San Diego is pretty crazy. Now, things change pretty quickly. If you were to ask me that question a month or two ago, I'd probably have a different answer where it was totally out of control. Now there seems to be a little bit of a shift in the sense that there aren't it's not not like a bidding frenzy.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you said a couple months ago it was out of control. So what do you mean by out of control?
Let me put it to you this way. So I had a listing and I had 60 showings in 2 days. And that's pretty excessive. And I'm not the type of agent who's just trying to look to get people through there. You know, people were allowed to have half-hour showing windows, but that's the program I use, which allowed showings to be booked. You can only put a minimum, but not a maximum. So anyway, people set them up for 15-minute windows. So that's what everyone had done. But anyway, 60 showings in 2 days, ended up getting 22 offers, and it ended up selling for $250,000 over list price at a relatively low price point. So it was a huge percentage over.
What area of town?
That was in Forest Ranch and Rancho Bernardo, 92127.
And what was the list price?
It was listed at $1,150,000, so it closed at $1,004,000. So when you think about it, 22 offers, and keep in mind, every single party that went through, I made sure that they had a pre-approval letter and or proof of funds if they were cash buyers. So everyone was qualified to buy the house.
So you're saying that was out of control in your mind?
That to me, 60 showings, 2 days, 22 solid offers, 8 of them above 1.3, and selling for 250 over. That to me is a little bit.
Well, let me ask
crazy.
you this. Was there any competition for that listing? Like, was there any other option for these buyers, or was that like it?
Well, at that point in time, that was pretty much it.
Okay. So that seems to be kind of what's happened, right? Is like people have gotten funneled into just one or two options.
Correct.
And there's obviously a lot of demand. It's San Diego. It's the best place to live in the world. So, you know, that demand has come into a low inventory scenario. Now, but you did say also, that was a couple months ago. So now you feel like that's changed a little bit. So what's changed?
Well, what's changed is, you know, because I work on both the buy side as well as the listing side. And so a lot of the listings I've had lately, the showing requests have dropped off significantly, and the actual showings, of course. And so the quantity is not there. Now, that's not to say that there's not quality buyers out there. There's still plenty of well-qualified buyers. It's just you're not, instead of getting 10 to 20 offers, you might get a couple.
Now, do you think that's because, are those homes priced a little bit more appropriately, like to where the market expectation is? So like the one that was listed for 115 sold for 1.4, no one knew that the market was at 1.4 for that property at that time, right? So it was listed for where we thought the market was at that time. But now once we're here, now the listing prices have gone up a little bit. Do you think that is what's contributing to this?
That is a really good, you're smart. Good train of thought. So what's happening, of course, is yes, things have relatively slowed down, but like you mentioned, the things that when it was, I think at the peak in a sense, those properties, transactions have now closed, so those prices in a sense become the comp. So then sellers who go on the market now are listing their property at the price, those prices. So yes. So the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically. So that's contributing to it. So
that is contributing to it. There's been an uptick in inventory, for example, in Poway 92064. For a while there, well, back in the day, the amount of homes in all of Poway at any single price point was about 110 to 120 homes. Then for a long period of time within the past year or two, it'd be like 55 to 60 homes. At one point, it got down to like the low 20s. Now, as of last night at 11:30, when I was looking at things, there's 45 homes, 45 properties in all of Poway. So you can see that it's gone up from 25, let's say, to 45 just in the past couple of weeks.
So still historically low amount of inventory.
Definitely historically low. And then, of course, the time of year is an important thing because historically people usually buy properties during the summer months. It's not to say that's what always happens, of course, but most people prefer to move during the summer months because that's when their kids are out of school. Now, of course, with the whole pandemic, the timing of things got thrown off. But still, we're past that time because most high schools, middle schools, they're starting mid-August. Colleges, of course, September. But we're kind of past that period now, because if you put your home on the market now, which is the end, August, then of course let's just assume a 30-day time to get your home sold, 30-day escrow, then all of a sudden you're 2 months in, and so we're into October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for what's happening now, the price action now that's happening in the market, for at least a couple months there, buyers all were looking at properties like, okay, whatever it's listed at, I'm going to have to pay more than that. Has that caught up now where like offers can come in at list, even maybe below list, and still be entertained?
Absolutely. So it is true. The mindset became like, okay, yes, that's the list price, but what's it really going to sell for? And it was, because people always say, like, they were curious what it's going to go for. And the question to me was like, what is the place worth? And are they pricing it below list price to ultimately have a bidding war? Are they pricing at what it's actually worth, in a sense? Or are they shooting for the stars and trying to get that? So what's really happening? What's it worth according to the comps? And of course, that's another good question, right? Because you always have the buyers who are saying, what are the comps? And I'm like, well, what the comps are and what another party's willing to pay for it might be totally different. Because quite frankly, in the last 12 to 18 months, I haven't even been involved in a transaction where the appraisal contingency was left in place.
Really?
Absolutely, yep.
Wow.
Not one single transaction.
That's wild.
And if it was in the initial offer, then it gets countered out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as a VA guy, there's that amendatory clause that is an interesting. We're going to do a video about this at some point because it is an interesting thing. A lot of VA buyers will waive the appraisal contingency or offer an appraisal bridge. They still have the protection under the amendatory clause, but you don't see too many appraisals come in just absurdly off the mark. It does happen, but for the most part, in an increasing market, which is what we have, the appraisers have a lot of latitude in an increasing market. Now, if that shifts, if the market becomes temperate or sideways neutral, as they would say on the appraisal, or becomes a decreasing market, then the appraisers actually don't have as much latitude to find value. And so that's why it sort of works on itself. It sort of snowballs when that can happen sometimes. Do you feel like right now the market is finding itself, or do you think that it has already found itself at this new sort of, I feel like in COVID, we sort of stepped up to a new level in this market, and I've been waiting for this to happen for a long time. And do you feel like we found a new level, this is the new normal, or do you still think the market's still trying to find itself right now?
Well, let me clarify what you mean by find itself.
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean by?
Like, this is a new normal, and we're going to kind of, maybe stay here for a little while, and then we're up from here. Or do you still think that, hey, there was a frenzy, and now maybe we need to take a step back a second, and we're still kind of trying to figure out where the market should be?
Right. Okay. So I feel like there was first of all, if someone had said, hey, there's going to be a pandemic, unemployment's going to jump up to 15% or whatever, and the pandemic's going to last for 12 to 18 months, what do you think is going to happen with real estate? I don't think anyone would have predicted this. Prices are up basically 30% year over year, which is crazy, right? Because historically, real estate as an asset class goes up 3 to 6% a year. Now, of course, in San Diego, America's finest city, which is probably arguably the most desirable place in the world to live, those numbers are usually higher because it's in such demand. But no one could have predicted this. And it's kind of funny because now all of a sudden you get these experts, now that the market's up, they're like, oh, we anticipate it still going up. And it's like, well, why before this happened didn't you predict it going up necessarily? So it's kind of like people just jump on the train of what's currently happening. But anyway, I think right now it's just people are just kind of exhaling and just taking a break. And so I feel like things are just kind of being steady for now. Then perhaps there's another surge. It's hard to say exactly.
That's what I'm feeling. I feel like it's just if you just look at the chart, it looks like we've made a leg up and we've found a new normal. But there's so many qualified buyers, as you were talking about, all these offers that come in, only one person gets the house. All these qualified buyers are still there on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
So that to me means that we're going to take a breath, reestablish norm. People will go, okay, that's what it is now. And then we're going to see, more upward trending. We may not see the mania that we saw a couple months ago, But I do think we're going to see a continued upward trend.
Well, keep in mind, there's a lot of buyers who either A, got priced out of things, or they just got frustrated from the process of things selling for significantly above list price or not getting offers accepted. So they're like, hey, let's just take a break. But now, if they catch wind that, hey, we can look at properties and make an offer, whether it's at list price or slightly below or slightly above, whatever it is, and we actually have a chance and we're not going to be competing with 20 to 50 people, then maybe they re-enter as well. So
I'm seeing that happen.
And I know personally, I've got a spreadsheet of all my buyers, and that hasn't necessarily dwindled much. So I know that they're still out there. There's definitely always going to be that demand in San Diego. I've always said unless there's some major catastrophe, knock on wood.
Find something.
Let's get some wood here. An earthquake that wipes us off the map. San Diego's always going to be a great place to live. And what you're finding is we have the biotech companies, we've got the Qualcomm here, but we've got a lot of the other big companies like Apple, for example, just announced, within the past few months, 5,000 jobs. So you get all these people coming from the Bay Area. They still find San Diego as a major deal. They're selling their 3-bedroom, 1-bath condo for $1.45 million, and then they're buying a custom home down here for that equivalent price, and they feel like they're making out like clams. So to them, it's still a deal.
They are.
And I can give you another quick example. Is like I sold a house in Los Angeles, not necessarily that I specialize in LA, let's just put that out there, but I happened to sell a house in LA for $2.2 million, and hopefully they're not watching, but essentially it was kind of a I don't want to say a tear down, but it definitely had to be totally revamped. But at that same point in time, I had a custom house, which was 1,000 square feet larger, totally turnkey at the same price point. And so when you compare that house in LA to this one in San Diego, everyone would take the one in San Diego.
Yeah.
So what happens is you've got all these people moving from LA and the Bay Area, among other places in the United States, but they're moving down here, and San Diego's still a deal.
It's no longer a secret. San Diego is the greatest place to live in the world. Chad, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Yeah, thank you so
Great
much.
to see you.
Appreciate having me on here.
Share this video with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else.